Saturday, so it's time for the guru to learn something new. Today, he goes to theater school with West End star David Shannon.
So today, I have a very special guest and an unusual situation. It's conversation without alcohol. That hardly ever happens when you have two Irish people in the same room. Now, I happen to be second generation Irish. Our special guest today is the real deal from Dublin, Ireland, but now makes his home in Nashville, Tennessee, or outside Nashville. I've talked about David all during the week. David Shannon is his name. He's our special guest. His resume is incredible in the theater world, both in the United States and in the famous West End. So many shows, so many leads, and I've been mumbling and stumbling around with this. I'm a big fan of Les Misérables, not the movie, although I like Hugh Jackman, but the actual play. And anytime you get to meet somebody that played the role of Jean Valjean, whether you're drinking or not, is actually a wonderful experience. And I thought I'd share it with all of the listeners because I know so many of my listeners have a very large disposable income, and they've been to theater all over the world. One in particular, Raquel, you better be listening to this. Anyway, we welcome to the program David Shannon. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I feel honored to be the first.
Well, we are in
the many.
We do this, by the way, every night I interrupt. We are in the very well. You've gone from the West End to Studio 8311, where I have all of my clothes on 3 hooks on a wall. It's this really big time podcast.
It's real life.
Yeah,
it's
it
real
sure
life,
is.
Tom. That's what it is.
All right, we're gonna start. I'm just going to briefly give you some of David's resume, just the top ones. There's so many, but the role of Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, the role of Jean Valjean in Les Misérables, the role of Todd in Sweeney Todd, the role of Chris in Miss Saigon. It goes on and on and on. I never saw Cats. I want to start there. The character was called Rum Tum Tugger.
He was, yeah.
And the name was because of tugging, rumming.
I don't remember. I don't know where the name comes from because they're based on T.S. Eliot poems.
Okay.
The whole play is. As such, I mean, it wouldn't be one of my favorites. I'm not gonna lie, because you're wearing lycra every night.
Well, that one, again. I am so narrow-minded when it comes to food, to destinations. I like spaghetti, I like wine, and I like Dublin, but don't put me in other places. When it comes to theater, I'm very familiar with Phantom and Les Mis, but even Matilda, I wasn't familiar with that musical, but you play Matilda?
Yeah, no, not Matilda herself, because that would be weird.
Well, that's
she's a small child.
Oh, okay.
No, I played Miss Trunchbull, which is even as weird, because basically in the musical on stage, not the new movie, which is actually very good, the new movie, it's always played by a guy because she's very manly. She's a shot putter, so she's very, very, hammer thrower, should I say, not shot putter. So she's kind of very, very big and manly. I had to wear a big fat suit as well.
I saw it, yeah.
So,
it was, it's quite
frightening.
It's quite a change. It's quite a change from Jean Valjean or the Phantom.
I think for me it was awesome because of that. It was very. I never get cast like that ever, and I had to fight for that. I did 7 auditions for that role, and every time I expected them to say, "Yeah, no, you're just not right for it." But I knew I could do it, and they stuck with me, and it's like 7 or 8 auditions before they actually said, "Yeah."
I was going to ask this question a little bit later on. I am somewhat organized today, but you brought up Matilda and the costuming and the makeup. Were you wearing... You seemed really tall in the picture. Were you wearing high shoes or something?
No, not at all. I just think it's just in all that get-up, you just look bigger and larger than life. I'm not a short guy. Yeah. I'm not like crazy tall either. And most of I was probably one of the shortest Trunchbulls they ever had at like 6 foot. I'm just under 6 foot.
Trunchbull?
Trunchbull, yeah.
Trunchbull.
Mrs. Trunchbull. And so I was like one of the shorter ones. Normally that's 6-something, 6'3", 6'4", because you tower over the children then, which is more terrifying.
I wonder how many people you think actually went for that role?
I have no idea. A lot, because it's a role most guys would kill to play because it's very different from Phantom and Jean Valjean and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Great comedy.
I don't know the costuming. To be a woman. I mean, I'm just weird.
I mean, the whole thing was vile to wear. I'm not going to lie, because it's because in London, there's no air conditioning backstage.
Yeah.
So you get a hot, no. So you get a hot summer in London, which we do get.
Yeah.
And it's vile.
Wow.
It's like disgusting. So I'm wearing this huge fat suit, and the fat suit then I have long woolen socks on. I have a wig on. I have the costume on top of the fat suit, which is about 2 layers as well. So, and then I'm dancing as well.
I started out of order. Normally you're going to go from how it began. Now we'll go back to how it began, because in my head I'm thinking you grew up in Dublin or in Ireland.
Yeah.
You'll tell the story of how you went from the job you had to where you ended up. And also, I've heard David in the show talk about his dad, what support he was coming to everything. But your friends you grew up with, when they find out you're playing a large woman...
It's funny, because I left Ireland when I was about 21, I think it was, when I got my first job. And so... like most of my friends just went their own way, and we kind of lock in. My best friend I grew up with still hasn't seen me do a show.
Wow.
And I've been doing it for 25 years.
Wow.
Because it's just not on his radar or something, because we made furniture. That's what we did.
Let's start there, because this story is amazing. And I really want to ask you about this, because a very, very close friend of mine, over 50 years now, his grandson, Will D is his nickname, is going to school for the performing arts. Yeah. He's been the lead at the age of 14. He's been the leads in high school things when it should go to the senior. Yeah. He's consumed with it. His room is all theater posters that he was in already. Right. And it's his dream. And, of course, his parents finished college. He's pushing them along. It was different for you. You went to work. Yeah. And then you can tell the story.
Yeah. I mean, because I'd done amateur dramatics, like community theatre and stuff when I was younger, because my mum had done it. And then I discovered sport and girls, and they're not interested in a guy who does theatre. So, at the time, where I was anyway, in Ireland, so I sort of grew up just about 30 miles north of Dublin, in a very small town. And so no one from where I came from had been successful in theatre at all, in that sense. And and so it was just kind of, I was either going to do art college, because I'm quite into art. I was either art college or go into something maybe in physical education, maybe. That's kind of where my head was at. And then my best friend's father and him he'd left school already, and he worked for his dad at this furniture place, making couches and sofas and stuff. And so I was doing that. Sometimes I might not go to school some days. Yeah. And I'd go down and work at the factory.
You make money.
Yeah, to make some money so that we could go out in the weekend, you know. And that's kind of was my life. And so I just continued doing that when I left school and just worked full time. And then I was doing, I did a couple of amateur things, and still had like an interest in it, but never really thought, it's just that's just not on your radar. Nope. But then they literally put an ad in the local paper, open auditions for Les Misérables. It was the first national tour that went out from the UK. And so I went, you know what the hell? And I say this in my show all the time. I say, don't ask, don't get. So off I went, and I went to this open audition, and I honestly thought I'd ruined any chance.
What did you sing?
I sang Gethsemane from Jesus Christ Superstar. Okay. If you don't know it, look it up and you understand why it's a really stupid choice of a song for an audition, because it's really it's a lot. It's sort of 70s rock high. It's just a lot to put on pressure on yourself.
With the music, are there tracks for that?
No, I had I was given a piano score by someone I knew who'd done loads.
And
of
they had a
stuff.
Pianist there that could play.
Yeah, they have a piano. So every audition has a piano player there, and you bring your music up, and which is a gift unto itself that they can play. They put a piece of music in front of them and they can play the song.
And you went on eventually to play
and I actually
Judas,
went on
right?
to play Jesus and Judas. I played both.
Jesus and okay.
So
anyway, you do the audition.
I do audition, kind of forgot about it, and they made me sing through some stuff from the show and taught me a little bit. And I heard afterwards that I left the room and they called the office straight away in London and say, oh my gosh, we found this kid in Ireland. He's like raw, but there's something about him.
How about that, huh?
And I didn't know this until much later, and I spoke to the director, became quite friends with him. And he said, they distinctly remember my audition. And whereas I was like, I did this audition and walked away and forgot about it. And about 2 weeks afterwards, I think it was, I got a phone call, and I was at my parents' house, and she was like, we'd like to welcome you to the touring company of Les Misérables. And I was like, and at that point, I would have swept the stage to get that show. I mean, it's probably...
Listen, anybody that loves theater, it's abstract to think it's going to be you up there. In the beginning, it's the chorus, right? Yeah. In the beginning, it's the chorus, then Marius.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get a call.
Yeah, to go back. I was doing... I think I told you the story last night after a couple of drinks.
I don't remember it.
But you remember.
I'm sorry, that's not far off.
When I was doing Sweeney Todd in Dublin, and they came to see me, Cameron's office came to see me do it, with a view of me playing Jean Valjean, and I'm like, okay.
Now, that was Todd and Sweeney Todd?
Yes, that was when I was doing Sweeney Todd. And so they came to see me, and then I got offered, while I was finishing up Sweeney, to play Macbeth in Macbeth, and I'd never done Shakespeare before.
By the way, not to interrupt you, I do it all the time. I'm reading one of the Broadway sites that has your resume, and anybody can look at it. It's amazing, David Shannon. And after it does all the musicals, it says straight theater.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, hold on. Here's a rim shot for that. I had to laugh, as if that's really unusual in the theater world, but it means you were doing Shakespeare.
Yeah, you're doing like plays without music, basically. Yeah, it's a phrase. I don't know where the phrase came from. It's funny, but so I got offered Macbeth. The director saw me in Sweeney Todd and said, "I want you to be Macbeth." I'm like, "Oh, I can do that."
Again, we'll back up. You didn't go to school for acting. You did some amateur acting and lied to some girlfriends, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was very good at that.
Yeah, that's kind of acting. You got to look. He's got to be telling the truth. Look at him. He's in tears. He told me to leave the building. Never go ahead. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy, this director says, "Hey, I like you being Macbeth." And I'm like, "Sure, why not? That'd be awesome. I'd love to be an actor and not have to sing, And so I said yes to it, and then I got offered Jean Valjean. And so when they called me and said, "We'd like to offer you Jean Valjean," I went, "I can't do it. I can't. I've got to play Macbeth." And they're like, "Sorry, what now?" I'm like,
"You didn't take it?"
I didn't take it. So I said no to it the first time. It was a huge risk because it was crap money, like really bad money for this Macbeth tour that was going around Ireland. But it was such a massive learning curve. I remember walking into the first day of rehearsals for Macbeth, and everyone else in the show, in the play they were all Shakespeare actors. They'd all done it, and you've got the guy walking in who's playing Macbeth. And I walk in and treat it like musical theatre, like going, let's just open the book on the first day and see what happens, And of course, I've never read Shakespeare properly before, and so it was a disaster in terms of I didn't know what I was doing. You could see them around the table for the table reading, going, "What the hell is going on?"
There is a certain snobbery, is that a word that goes with that? That's real theatre.
Yeah, absolutely. It was proper theatre.
Yeah, proper, that's the word.
Yeah, but I mean, it just, but I learnt a lot very, very quickly. I was dreadful for the first couple of weeks of the tour because I was just trying to get all these words out of my mouth because there was a lot of them, and I couldn't just rely on a tune to remind me where I was in a song or a piece. You've got all these huge monologues.
Well, it's also a gutsy hire by the director.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm sure he thought he made a mistake about 2 or 3 weeks in because I just didn't know what I was doing. But then eventually, they always say with Shakespeare, it clicks. Yeah. And it did. It just clicked with me. Halfway through the run, I went, "Oh,
that's how it goes."
Okay, I don't have to work against the rhythm and the iambic pentameter and all that. I don't have to work against it. Actually, that helps me. And it just all kind of clicked together, and then it became a really interesting discovery as an actor. Then, but then I finished that tour because it wasn't very long, and.
Here's a very, we had a show in America called The Actors Studio.
Yes, I know.
James Lipton, right?
Yeah.
He would ask that. Once you learn Shakespeare and the role of Macbeth, did it help you when you became Jean Valjean?
100%.
Pretty good, huh?
100%.
People listening going, "Hey, that Drake's pretty good. Look at these." Go ahead.
Should I tell them about the dummy cards? No.
I do have a couple of notes in front of me for a case.
No, so it did, because then I finished the tour and Les Mis came back calling, and they went, "Hey, look, the guy extended that was going to leave, so it's here." And so I said yes the second time around, but then I went into that show as an actor, not a singing guy who acts. Right. And so I approached the whole thing very, very differently as an actor, and it was awesome in that sense, because I had just a whole different method of working on the character and what I wanted to do with it. And you are somewhat limited in a show like that, because they're like a factory production. Like, it's like, it's all molds, and you just fit into the mold and get on with it. But there are times when you can make it a bit more yours than others.
And the role created by Colm Wilkinson, and that is the benchmark. It's you have to do it the way he did it. He was the first, and
I mean, it has changed over the years. It's by osmosis. It's kind of just changed a little bit over the years, and they've gone in slightly different directions in how they do certain things. But it is still relatively what it was up until recently, the same show from when it opened.
For people not familiar, we've had this discussion. They reworked and took out the barricade.
They took out the barricade's there, but they took out the revolve. The revolving stage went, which I really miss. I've seen that new production, and it creates a journey that isn't there anymore, and it just feels like they're filling time because it's not there a little bit more. But
and saving money.
Well, that too.
Again, back to the idea that growing up, you were interested in it. You had, local theater kind of a thing, and now all of a sudden, your Jean Valjean first time around end up being 3 times?
Yeah, I think 3 times I did it, and I've done it in concert a few times too, which is an awesome way to do that show.
Yeah, for those people that are on the internet a lot, you can just Google the name David Shannon, and you'll see video clips. And now I just saw one that you had on your Twitter page about the 37 to 38 years. There was the long clip, and you made the cut. And we've talked about that they produced a video for sales purposes, and you happen to be the Jean Valjean.
Oh yeah, the EPK,
when they were filming it. So when they're showing all these clips, and I'm like, that's him. Dottie's looking over my shoulder going, that's him right there. It's the coolest thing in the world.
It was awesome, I must say. Because if they hadn't done this, they call them an EPK, like an electronic press kit. It's a commercial for the musical, which is they do them for everything now, but they hadn't done one for Les Mis in about 20 years. And I happened to be in the show when they did it, so we had all these cameras come in, we went to the studio, recorded the songs of parts of the show, and then I had this fantastic HD stuff of me doing Jean Valjean.
Because when you're the Phantom, your friends can't tell, right?
Because you got so much makeup on.
With the mask and
even
the makeup.
Without the mask, they can't tell, so
Well, that's something we talked about last night, and I wanted to talk about today, the day in the life kind of a thing, and David suggested Phantom because there was the makeup required. Your 7:30 curtain in West
7:30 normally.
So 7:30. Now, did you do the 2 shows like Broadway in New York?
Yeah.
But so it's 7:30 on a Friday night. What time do you have to get there to get started?
Well, I mean, see, because of my background, I'm not the best judge in terms of like what you should do to prepare for a show. I'm not that guy. I mean, I'm the guy who's having a pint in the pub across the road before the show, and then I'll come over and get organized. I'm not the guy. I'll switch on the moment I walk on stage, but I'm not like in the wings going method into my thing. I'm just not that guy. I never have been.
If I'm not mistaken, David had dinner with us with guests on the last time he was with us in Surrender, and he had a show that night, and everybody's like, "You eat before the show?" I'm hungry.
I gotta eat. I gotta eat. That was my.
But most singers, no, they stop eating at noon and they do yoga.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, it's very. I think singing can be a very mental occupation, and I think sometimes people overthink it. Because it's a muscle at the end of the day, and you just and I've been using this muscle for like any athlete. I've been using my muscle for a very, very long time, so I know how it works. I've been speaking since I was a child, and then I've been singing for quite a long time. So it's just so I know when I wake up in the morning, I know where it's at and what I need to do to. And when you're doing 8 shows a week, it's like. You've got, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a phlegmy day. You're going to have a tired day. And the key to doing shows a week is how to get around those days. And that's
because the punters, the people in the theater that have been waiting all year for this. I mean, this is
so you have to. So it should be. It should be like it's the first time. That's kind of so you have to find. Newness in something every single time for you, otherwise you'll go insane. My friend Mike Reynolds is not with us anymore, but he had a great line about there's nothing worse than buying a ticket to a Broadway show to go see somebody famous and find out the role of so-and-so is played today by Ed. It's like, who the hell is Ed? I'm sitting in the front row because I want to see that person. So, but then sometimes Ed is better.
Well,
I mean, I've seen it, because sometimes it's a name, and then you've got this understudy who's worked really hard and comes on and blows it out of the park.
Well, in Broadway now, it's to sell tickets. They put names out there to put people in the seats, not the show. Who's in the show?
Well, they've never. So one thing about Les Mis is they've never put a name before the show ever.
No,
a name has never been above the title of Les Mis ever.
No, it's because it's Les Mis. So you get to the theater.
Yeah. So so I get to the theater probably like on a half-hour call, which is 5 to 7.
For 7:30.
Yeah.
They slapped the makeup on. Let's go.
No. See, the thing is with Phantom. I'll get there. I said about 5 to 7 o'clock. I'll walk in, and you have a very nice dressing room at Phantom at the Majesty. It's really nice. It's like it's a suite basically, is what it is. It's got its own kitchen and everything. It's really nice. One of the nicest dressing rooms in town.
Very much like the
this,
studio here.
Less suits hanging on the wall.
Yeah,
but so I get in there and I'll hang out a bit, to be honest with you, and then they don't start doing my makeup till the show, just before the show starts, because the Phantom doesn't arrive into the show for the first half an hour or 40 minutes. So once the show goes up, I'm probably in the chair. It's like a big barber's chair, basically, for about 5 minutes already at that point, and then they start putting on. So you have like a ball cap goes on first, so they have to glue on this ball cap, and then they put the makeup is made up of 3 prosthetic pieces, and they only use one a night. It's thrown out every night, and it costs about, I want to say each piece costs about 70 or 80 quid, I think, like pounds to each one, and they throw them in the bin at the end every night. So they start putting the pieces on, and they're already pre-painted, so that the lady who does the makeup, she'll sit with a thing and pre-paint it before it goes on me, and then they stick it on. Then they have to do the other side of my face, and the other side of the Phantom's face is actually Bela Lugosi in terms of the look. They have a picture of him up, so his makeup is it's like an old style movie star makeup, very, very particular. And then you have like this alopecia wig then that goes on top of your prosthetic, and then the black sort of Phantom wig goes on after that, and then you've got to get into costume, which is big tails and suit and cape and hat and all that stuff as well. So it's a good 40-minute process probably from start to finish,
and then flip a switch, because once you take the stage, the whole reason to be in that theater, they're waiting to see the Phantom. So
it's funny because he's on stage less than Valjean is, and Jean Valjean is. Jean Valjean's on a lot. Yes. He has a massive arc to play in terms of age as well, but I would say the Phantom's on for a third of that, what he does. But when the Phantom's on stage, he's 120% on stage, and the focus is on him all the time, whereas in Valjean it's not always that way, and so you have to be on it. There's no half measure with the Phantom at all. Because
if you mess it up, the whole cast...
He's a super complicated character because of there's stuff going on in there mentally that ain't right, and in places, and physically as well, so you're dealing with all that makeup and the heat as well, which is never fun in the summer. You've got like no air conditioning backstage, but you've got like 3 layers of makeup and prosthetic.
I'm stunned at that. This is not anywhere on topic, but this past summer, Dottie is a huge fan of Scotland, and really believes, people have listened to me for so long know this story. She was the first time in the castle in Edinburgh. She felt like she had been there in a former life. She felt she was a handmaiden to Mary Queen of Scots. And I said, makes sense, because you haven't waited on me in 22 years. Anyway, I'm not using rim shots. This is a very classy interview today. So she wanted to stay in Scotland, so we did, and we stayed one night in Edinburgh in a boutique hotel that had been a birthing hospital previously. No air conditioning. A 5-star hotel in Scotland has a fan in the room. That's high level. And then we stayed in the Carberry Tower mansion outside of Edinburgh, where Mary Queen of Scots surrendered her army. In the Mary Queen of Scots suite, which Dottie couldn't sleep. She thought it was haunted. Hot. Just hot.
I bet.
And so I can't imagine a summer in London.
It's vile. It's horrible. It is really horrible. I mean, you just try and do everything you can.
They can easily put in units there.
Well, the problem is a lot of the time, I know from what I've been told, a lot of the problem is the buildings are so old, they won't support the weight of like a big air conditioning system. So they will bring in, if it gets like super hot and it's dreadful, they will bring in like maybe an air conditioning unit, with a hose out the window or something. I've had that before over the years.
That's when you're a big star.
Yeah, but
if you get the hose out,
rarely. And I didn't have one in Matilda, and it was disgustingly hot. I was like doing everything I could to like put a fan with ice behind it and all sorts of stuff, just trying to make it
should be in
cooler.
your rider. If I'm going to take this
the
role,
thing is that what they said, it never gets that hot in London, but it does.
Yeah, well,
there's no air.
You're not
move.
wearing the costume. Now, I was doing a little research because, this is a professional operation.
Wow.
And I stumbled over the fact that you were nominated for an Olivier.
I was. Yeah.
By the way, if you don't know, Olivier is the Tony Award of Britain, and it was for The Beautiful Game.
Beautiful Game, yeah.
Which reviews were mixed.
They were very, it was timing. That show was timing. It didn't come out at the right time. It was too early. I think if he'd written it now and put it out now, it probably would have done better. I think because it was different, and it was also very different for Andrew. Very.
Yeah. By the way, it's another
Andrew Lloyd Webber. Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber and Cameron Mann.
Yeah, like talking like a lazy man. Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
Andy.
Andy called me and said,
Andy,
and it was a story of the Troubles really in Ireland and the Catholics and the Protestants using soccer.
Yeah, and soccer was kind of the linchpin of it.
Yeah,
it's based on a relatively true story about these boys in this photograph, and eventually he renamed the musical "The Boys in the Photograph," and they tried. I think they did it in Winnipeg or something.
Yeah, I saw
random.
it. And it didn't fly.
No, it didn't. And because I just think it was too early to put out. The Troubles were still quite in people's minds in the UK still. It wasn't that long ago we had the Good Friday Agreement and stuff, so I think that we had security, a lot of security for that show, because they were worried that because of the subject matter that we'd have issues. No one was allowed to park outside the theatre anywhere. Cars weren't allowed. They stopped parking while that show was on, and we had to check in security wise. We all had badges and stuff. It was all pretty intense.
I mean, I've worried about my act from time to time, but certain factions don't understand my humor. But never had security. Well, I read about it in Ben Elton.
Yes.
What was interesting in this is now I'm like one of those talk show hosts that wants to talk about what I've done. But Andrew Lloyd Webber asked him to fix up Starlight Express.
That's right.
This is Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he goes,
Lord Andrew now.
Lord,
he's a lord now.
And this is Ben Elton's very famous in England. He's a comedy writer, comedian, and he basically said, "Nah, I'm not interested in that. I'm not gonna." Who says no to?
I know, right?
Anyway, and so he said, "But I have an idea," and they put this together. And then one of the critics said that was the problem because it was too, comedy related, and another one said it was breathtakingly fresh and brilliant and new and not the traditional stuff. The only thing they said is the gentleman that played John Kelly said he thinks he's doing Shakespeare. No, I made that up. They didn't really say that. Every time I see this guy, he thinks he's Macbeth. Let it go. No, I'm just kidding.
It's funny because I think it had moments of brilliance in it. It did actually, choreography and stuff. It was really interesting, and some of the scenes. The actual book scenes as such were really, really good and quite hard hitting because of the subject matter and dealing with the IRA and all that sort of stuff, and just the split in families because of all that, and some of it was pretty right on the nail, and I think that was hard for people as well, and because it wasn't a family show. So you're talking most Webber shows are going to be you can bring your family to, right?
This had a message,
and it was just a bit too. I mean, I remember we did the album, and then I think just after we opened, they're like, the album isn't really selling because it had to have a parental advisory sticker on it because there was some language in it. Now that would sell it. But they made us go back in the studio and re-record all the bad language with something else, and so they rewrote it, and we had a different logo for the show. Then all of a sudden it was a picture of me and the girl on the front. It was more like a love story, but I refused to take the language out of my scenes, and I got noted on it every night for a year. You can't say that anymore. I said, I'm not saying that because it makes sense in the moment. You're just on some trying to be PC about it, and it's stupid, and I wouldn't do it. So I used to get a note literally every night saying,
that is when the director is never there every night.
No, we have a resident director.
There's a rat.
Yeah, we have a resident director normally who's there every other night will watch the show, and or dance captain, they call him as well. So
tattletale, somebody that's going to say you didn't do this, you didn't do that.
So you get that, and I mean I've had that over the years. I wouldn't say I'm difficult to work with, but I'm quite strong-headed, and if I believe in something, I'm pretty it's not for the sake of it. I'm just this is what I believe, and this is getting me to this moment in the show. So
and you just say, look, do what you want. I can always go back and make furniture. You know what I'm saying? I'm the button guy.
I still do.
Yeah,
I just made a table last week.
Well. David actually now lives in the United States, and that's really the only reason Dottie and I had the opportunity to meet him, because in our business now, for budget reasons, if you're in Europe or Asia, they find European or British or Asian performers. If you're in the United States, they use performers in the United States. And David was on a ship with us, and like, how'd you get here? Because you're from England, and he said, no, I'm Nashville now. I live up there in Nashville. You should see they love that Shakespeare down there in Nashville. To be or not to me, hand me that hammer.
To be or not to y'all.
Yeah, but by the way, Nashville is a very it's getting more and more cosmopolitan. Very sports. Sports. Their hockey team.
Yeah, their soccer team. They have a good soccer team too. Yeah, they just built a brand new soccer team, soccer stadium in Nashville. They have no baseball team in the major leagues though.
Well,
which makes me sad.
Yeah, they should take the Marlins and move them there.
Yeah, maybe.
Nobody in Miami goes to see them. Even the Marlins don't want to go, but unfortunately the bus takes them there and they have no choice. This could go on for 2 days, and everybody knows who my wife is, and she had to leave to go do Battle of the Sexes. Otherwise, we'd have an audience. She would be sitting here just loving this, as I do. We're going to move forward, though, to another show I was not familiar with, Come From Away. And it is, David will tell you the story, but it's quite a story, and as you describe it, a roller coaster of emotions. And it was first staged in the United States.
Yeah, well, actually, it was written for Sheridan College in Toronto.
It started in Canada, I should say, and then came here and came to Broadway, and then was launched initially in Dublin.
Yeah, we opened the European premiere in Dublin first, and then moved that production to London for the original.
And it is the story of what happened
post 9/11.
The post 9/11, when all the planes were immediately grounded, and they ended up in Gander, Newfoundland, of all places, many of the planes, and this is the story put to music.
Yeah, basically, it's basically what happened, because they were there for 5 days, and there was 7,000 people, 6,000 or 7,000 people, all in this tiny little town of about 6,000 or 7,000 people. So like doubled the population in like 1 day.
Yeah. And Newfies they're nice people.
Oh, they are the nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been up there with ships a few times, and the last time I was in St. John's, I drove 4 hours to Gander because I'd been in the show. So I met all the people. It's all true. I mean, literally all the people in the show are based on real people and interviews the writers did. And I stayed with people who were in the musical and went to all the places that are in the musical. And it was just
awesome. You can find David for sure on Twitter, and you can certainly Google David Shannon, and there'll be a lot of different stories and clips, and I've seen the pictures of you with the people in Gander and how thrilled they were. You were wearing the lumberjack shirt. The lumberjack shirt that David wore in the musical, and you left after a year.
Not even a year. I left because I left to go home and look after my father, and so I decided to put my career on hold and go home and look after Dad, and it was really sad moment for me. I loved that show. I mean, it's one of my favorite shows I've ever done by far.
Go look for that clip where his final performance with that show, when after the show the bows, they stop it, and one of the leads, and I did not know this, talked to David off air, played 7 roles. You played
I played 7 roles in the show. Everyone everyone does that. Like, there's no one person who plays one part for the whole show. It's 13 actors and about 12 chairs and 2 tables. That's it. That's the set. And it's brilliant. It's so cleverly done.
When you say 7 roles, you have to do them all different styles, dialects, inflections. How would you know the difference? It's not a makeup change, right?
No, it's either a shirt change, it's a jacket change, it's an accent change, it's a physicality. I was a Newfoundlander in a bus driver at one point, and I play Kevin T, who's like the main character I had, who's this guy who's from LA. The original guy's actually from Texas, but they decided to make him from LA for the show because it was just better for some reason. And so I have him, and he's got a specific jacket he wears, and then he wears the lumberjack shirt, and he gets kind of his boyfriend is called Kevin as well. They're called the 2 Kevins, and he says you look like a gay lumberjack, and so that sort of title is stuck with Kevin now. The real Kevin as well, who I know, Kevin Turf.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, he's the gay lumberjack. He calls himself the gay lumberjack. So he's a super nice guy, super nice guy. Really involved in. Because they started this whole pay it forward thing when they left, and they started collecting money on the planes as they all flew out, and they raised something like $1 million, I don't know how much it was, dollars, and now there's a scholarship in Gander for kids for school, and it's a constant pay it forward thing. The money keeps coming in, which is kind of cool. So he's very much involved in all that still. So.
Guests on board who have seen the show and love the show, they can't say enough great things about it as a different type of theater piece that with a message, and the score is very
it's
good.
Only like 90 minutes long, so you're done by like 9.
Yeah, go straight through.
Yeah, straight through. No applause breaks, which is I loved. As an actor, it's nice.
I have that in my act, so
I
have 45 minutes straight, no applause breaks
or laughs.
Well, no, hardly laughs. An occasional giggle from a Brit, or maybe it's gas. I don't know, or he's burping. I'm not really sure. The guy from Iowa coughing. I'm not sure what happened. So now you finish that, and you kind of step away.
So I stepped away to look after Dad and moved home to Ireland. And
then came with your family and 2 daughters to outside of Nashville, where you are a Jean Valjean farmer.
I'm a Jean Valjean the homesteader now. That's it.
I saw that. The homesteading.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, I've always liked building and making stuff anyway. It's always been in my blood, I think. My grandfather was big into it, and I inherited a lot of his tools when he passed away because nobody else wanted them, and I love them. And so my time when I'm not on ships is spent building stuff or making stuff. I built our chicken coop from scratch, and I built a gazebo last week. It's like that's just what I do. And we have like 20 chickens. We have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and eventually we'll probably get a cow, I think. And do all that.
But the idea of once again, the opportunity is there. I'm sure if you wanted to do something on Broadway in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
the family's over here, and you're in New York City, and
I think it would be a big ask, and I couldn't do because our contracts are normally a year at least on a show, and just the idea of doing 8 shows a week for a year now just doesn't enter my brain. I just can't. I can't fathom that now because I just never see my kids, and it was hard when I was doing Come From Away and Matilda because they were still quite young, and I just felt like I never saw them. And we lived in the same house, and I was just going to work. I used to leave for work about 4 or 5 in the evening. I never had to. I could never have dinner with them, and all these things. And when they were at school in England, I never saw them all day. So.
Now, can you go in revert? I mean, they close Les Mis everywhere. There's just touring companies.
No, there is a touring company in the US right now, and there is a production in London right now. That's it.
Okay, so
the New York production's gone. So,
but any of those lead roles you could walk back into pretty easy if.
Well, I mean, Phantom's gone too, sadly, in New York. But I mean, I think it's happened. Like, for instance, I ended up on the national tour Come From Away in the States because they had a load of people out with COVID, post-COVID, and I got a phone call from the producer saying, "Hey, hi, it's us." I'm like, "Hi, this is a weird phone call. I haven't spoken to you in 2 years." He said, "Look, could you come to Minneapolis tomorrow?" I'm like, "Well, I live in Nashville," because they knew I'd moved over. So, my wife has just left, and we just got a new puppy, and the whole reason was the 2 weeks they were away. I was going to look out the puppy and train him in and stuff, and they said like. But we've no show. If you don't come, we literally have no one else now. So we need your character because we were literally out for another, I think 2 weeks. They had to be in quarantine or something. And I went, you know what? Okay, and they paid for my puppy to go to puppy training school for 2 weeks, so I didn't have to do that.
That's
they
good
paid
deal.
for that, and then I drove from, because we thought it was the safest in terms of COVID.
Yeah, sure.
I drove from Nashville to Minneapolis, a 14-hour car drive. I left that night at 10 o'clock in the evening.
With the whole family?
No, just me, because my family were all away. That was the problem. So, So I dropped the puppy off at training school, and then drove 14 hours. I think I stopped at about 3 in the morning or something and had a nap for a couple of hours and then kept on driving. I got there sometime in the afternoon, evening, and had a small rehearsal, and I hadn't done the show in like 2.5 years, and I could not remember a thing, and I could see them going, "Oh God, what have we done? Wow. This is going to be a disaster."
Well, there's 7 roles too.
Yeah, so and there's a lot of movement with them. You move chairs around a lot. The chairs become the set basically, and it's really precise. They have marks, so every chair has a number. Every scene has a color code. And so you look on the floor for a color code and a number for where your chair needs to be for each scene. It's really complicated. And I hadn't done it in 2.5 years. And so I did this rehearsal, and it was a bit of a disaster. And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, this is a lot. But I went back the next day, and they brought all the cast in. And then it just started to make sense because you go, "Oh, yeah, this character's here and there and this." And it all started to just kind of click. And I went on the next day. after a day's rehearsal. It was terrifying and awesome all at once, and I loved it. And I made a whole new family.
I was going to say the reaction of the rest of the cast.
Well, because they could perform. They literally, the show had been dark because they didn't have enough people to do the show.
Well, plus you were the original cast.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean,
so in
you
London
were
anyway. Yeah. So
listen, that's still. It's still London.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, and it was awesome, and I've made some great friends because of it now. The guy a bit opposite me, I've become really good friends with.
I was going to ask you about that because as comedians, we write our act and we use the same one forever. We write a joke every now and then. Yeah. Once a show, there's something new in my act. That's all I have to remember that, and I usually put it in the front. Yeah. But the memorization required for these lead roles, you can flub it a little bit in the chorus, and you're not central to the whole story, but you can't really go out as Jean Valjean and go, what comes next?
Well, the music helps, though, I think, because the music reminds you where you are in the song all the time. So if you do, I remember I was doing Miss Saigon, and I was playing Chris in Miss Saigon, and I'm sitting there.
By the way, I love doing this when we're having a drink, and someone's talking. He's talking to David, and David goes, when I was doing Miss Saigon, with the name dropping again, always when I was doing. Anyway, well, it's so cool to have this resume. I mean, I've worked at Atlantic City and Las Vegas. Oh yes. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but it's like so I'm sitting there on stage, and I'm about to sing my big song, which is a song called Why God Why. Yeah. And it's Chris's big number early on after he's met this girl. And I could not remember a single lyric before it started. And I just sat there. So the first line went by, I said nothing. You can kind of see the conductor going, what's going on?
This is rehearsal?
No, this isn't the show.
Oh, boy.
And then I just went, well, I got to do something. So I started making it up. And so I just started describing in the same sort of tune what was happening at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, why is this girl so pretty? She's lying in the bed. Why is it so dark outside? Like, I just was describing it, and nobody noticed. Nobody noticed.
Except the guy that wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God he wasn't there, Pretty famous two guys, actually. I always get it wrong, Bull and whatever. Bubil and Schoenberg.
Yeah.
They're super nice. I've been very fortunate to meet them quite a lot because I worked in their shows quite a few times, and they used to come to our sing-through. We do like a big sing-through at the end of rehearsals so they could hear everything. And I've been in... There's 3 shows that I've been in, so the
gentleman came up last night who absolutely loved
Martin Guerre, which you hated.
Well, I was a little, I was overserved. Like, that's the worst show I ever saw. He's go away, Flea. You're the comedian. Go away. We're talking theater.
It's funny, although it's funny enough. It was one of my dad's favorite shows, openings. He loved that show because it's got a beautiful single sort of solo flute.
Again, now I'm just being the word self-service. I don't know. I went to see it so excited after seeing Les Mis, and it was so opposite of Les Mis. Yeah. And I say Les Mis like, what, don't you love these people that they're Hamilton too? I mean, the people that are into Hamilton, they've seen it 30 times. Yeah. I remember being at a Bon Jovi concert one time.
I love Bon Jovi.
We always get the VIP thing. That it was like $500 a ticket, but I don't take vacation, so I spend money on concert tickets. So that big theater in arena in Orlando, Amway, and we're upstairs because that food ahead of time and drinks. Yeah. They actually had Bon Jovi trivia, which was really weird considering where we're from in Oceania. But we're sitting at this round table, and the guy looks at me and goes, "Which of John's songs do you like?" I'm like, John's
like your buddy John.
I said, to be honest with you, I don't know all of his songs. I just remember when I used to go to the go-go bars because all the dancers used to play Bon Jovi music. They went, go-go bars? I said, they were so offended. I said, strip clubs in Jersey. They're swinging around a pole to
living on a prayer.
Yeah, Tommy had whatever. They wouldn't talk to me the rest of the night. It was hilarious. But you're right. It was a spectacular.
I've seen them 3 times in concert in Ireland and England. I saw them at Wembley, and they were incredible.
Yeah, it's just it was amazing. So I'm just looked at the clock. This was supposed to be 30 minutes. We went a little long, but who cares? David is very generous with his time, and I pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about. Memorization, especially because there's so much on the line.
Yeah.
People have paid a fortune.
I mean, you get 4 weeks rehearsals. So normally, I mean, that's a standard is 4 weeks rehearsal. So you've got a lot of time.
Every day?
It doesn't sound like, it doesn't, I mean, every day, but... I mean,
not a written quiz, is it? They have a written test you have to fill out?
It's down to you, to learn your lines and be ready because you've got to get it, on its feet and start moving it pretty quick. So you tend to have like the first week's nearly always music and stuff to learn the songs, and then you have music calls within the rehearsals after that, and then it's just getting it up and staged. I mean, something like Les Mis, for instance, obviously I knew the show already. So
I was going to say, if you're coming out, you've heard it, you watched that guy, whoever was doing it long enough, you pretty much know the role.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have some fantastic bajans when I was in the chorus. I nabbed a little bit of each, which is a form of flattery, I think. If you can steal someone's stuff in that sense,
the way they deliver things, the meter, things like that. As a comedian, there are guys that I kind of pattern. I'm a Catskill act, I am. Bring the rim shot, and that's the kind of comedy I've always liked. But you're right. Other than you can't take their material, but I can certainly be Jackie Mason anytime I want. What a pleasure. Going forward, by the way. The best way to reach out to you, we can find you on Twitter.
Social media is always good. Like Instagram's pretty good for me. Okay. I have a Facebook page too. It's a different
because David actually does tour now with a theater performance.
Yeah, I do shows. Around the States mainly actually now. So
again, you're interested in that. Reach out to him. Is there an agency they should contact, or
I can come straight through my my Facebook page or my social media. So because I have different agents for different things.
Yeah, well,
you do. So like for
with the ships and
for acting
and voiceovers too. He actually does voiceovers. So reach out to him. Take a few minutes. There's lots of interesting video that you can watch and interesting stories. And when they gave you the shirt on Come From Away, it's a great clip where the cast gave him the shirt that he wore. The gentleman also said you knew everybody's role. Was that facetious or
no? Because Clive had a tendency for forgetting and messing up his words every once in a while, and. Everyone always looks at me when someone messes up because I'll always have that's interesting choice of words for this evening, and then I'll find a way to make that work for me and I'll make them laugh. I'm dreadful because I don't corpse on stage. You have that expression in the States, corpse. I don't laugh like in terms of like lose it on stage. I've always been very good at not losing it on stage in terms of going into a fit of giggles and stuff like that. So, but other people aren't, and I'm very good at making that happen. And especially with Clive, because he said every time he got a word wrong, he said he could feel my eyes in the back of his head. Look at it going.
Well, he was very, very.
It was an ongoing gag for us,
and he was very great to mention it. It was an inside joke kind of a thing among the cast, but he was very complimentary of you. So
Clive's been around for a long time as well, and Clive's like one of my favorite people in the world. He's a gorgeous human being, and like he was in the original cast of Les Mis, and he told me loads. It was very interesting stories of that show being such a big part of my life, and then talking to him about this didn't really happen, or this shouldn't have happened, or we cut this and this was much better, and there's a whole and
that
show was like 5 hours long when it opened. It was like it was like there was so much material, because if you've ever read the book, it's like a tomb. It's like huge, and so there's just so much backstory that isn't in there that you could not physically do on stage.
And now it leads to another question we're talking about. Things that have happened that the audience is not aware of. Memories of a night when the mask fell off, or the makeup started running, or you missed coming out. You were a second late for the.
There's a million of those. I mean, I had in Saigon, for instance, I was actually on stage, and there's a section where my character Chris is having a phone conversation with his best buddy John, and he's telling him about he's met this girl and it's amazing, and he's saying, well, I don't really care because we're about to leave Vietnam. It's all it's hit the fan, we're out of here, And I go, John, is that you, buddy? Listen to me. Is how I start the song. Nothing. John is in the company manager's office having a tea and talking to him, and you hear little snippets of conversation coming on over the thing where his mic has gone live, because he's wearing a head mic, so it's like his mic has gone live, and then
Was he supposed to talk to you on the phone?
Yeah, he's on one side of the stage as if he's somewhere else.
Okay.
And I'm on the phone. So basically, we're in two different places, but on stage, and he's nowhere to be seen. So yeah, there was lots of empty, and then all you heard was, oh, then running.
And his reason was he lost track of the time?
He was just talking to the company manager sitting in his office. I mean, I've had it where my mic went live in Les Mis. I was sitting in my dressing room when the start of the barricade happens. I'm not on there yet, and I have a wig change and a costume change, and I'm talking away, and all of a sudden it comes out over the barricades that there was a glitch in the desk, and literally my mic went live when I was sitting talking. I was lucky; I didn't say anything bad.
Yeah.
But it could have been really bad.
Sure. Especially
if they caught me like a minute earlier, it could have been really bad.
Especially if someone else in the cast has screwed up and knocked the timing off or didn't say something right, and you're in the dressing room going, "That's the last time."
I was very lucky. I didn't say anything too bad, and then I think they realized.
Unless it's
we were in the dressing room, and I went, is that my voice? But I was hearing my voice saying, is that my voice, through the tannoy in my room. So I just went very quiet and waited for them to fix it. So.
We have that on ships, but it's ships. It's not the Royal, the Palace Theatre. Things like
desks
that.
and stuff. Everything's so digital now as well, and those sort of things happen. It's going to happen. Computers.
You're pretty laid back. Thank you.
I am.
Again, you can find them all over social media. You can check out some of those videos. A pleasure. You know how I feel. I mean, I'm a stupid fan. I really am sometimes. He's like, look, it's funny because people that have these tremendous roles they've done, it's time to go to work. It's a job like anything else, but it's a pretty elevated job. When, when Andy Weber calls you or, Cam calls you up, that's a different kind of thing like that. All right. I hope everybody's enjoyed this. That's not normally what we do here, me being me and that noisy duck, but I hope you've enjoyed it, the special Saturday edition, and I'll be back on Monday as my usual crazed self, and have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.